Hey, what's up, everybody? This week I have the distinct honor of having a friend of mine, Brooke Fossey, published author of The Big Finish, into the Table of Truth, and we're going to talk about writing, the writing process, her background. Has she always wanted to be an author? I'm not sure, but she is a published author now with her books on the shelf at an actual Barnes & Noble. We're going to talk about her goals and how she approaches adversity. I hope you enjoy this. I think you will. We're live. Brooke Fossey, thanks for carving out the time to come in and talk to me.
I'm excited about this.
I am too. Let's start with where you grew up. You grew up around here, didn't you?
Yes, I haven't gotten very far, and that feels lame, but I grew up here, and I'm an Aggie, and then I came back here.
Whoop. Right on. Awesome. So you did the whole Texas high school thing, Friday Night Lights, all that good stuff?
I did it. I went to Catholic school till 8th grade, and then I went to public school.
Gotcha.
And, A&M.
Awesome. What did you study at A&M?
Mechanical engineering. And then I actually, when I came back, I went to Embry-Riddle remote, and I got a Master's of Science in Technical Management.
Wow.
I know, it sounds fancy, right?
You're really smart, it sounds like.
No.
Where did your studies then lead you in the career field?
I ended up at Lockheed Martin over there at Carswell Air Force Base, but it changes names every 4 years.
Yeah,
I
it
think.
does.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
The Navy and the Air Force own it, I think.
Okay.
So anyway, I was there, and I worked on flight tests for a long time on the JSF, which is the Joint Strike Fighter.
Yeah.
The airplane. And then I worked in different avenues for the JSF.
Okay.
Support equipment, flight line. So it was
Did you
good
like
times.
it?
Oh, gosh. I liked the people. I liked some of the stuff when I was working flight line stuff. It's fun. It's fun to be over there and have F-16s going overhead.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of butt and seat stuff that happens with engineering, and you're assigned a widget, and that widget is your project for a year or 5, and that's it. I mean, there's not any quick turnover stuff. You don't get to, at the end of the day, especially with government projects, as you would expect, you design, and for a year, you're just spinning around on your computer, and you don't actually see it at the end of the day.
The direction that you were headed out of high school into college, what made you decide to study that in college?
My dad's an engineer.
Gotcha.
I don't think I knew did you know what you were going to do in college?
Yeah, no.
No,
not
I don't
really.
think 18-year-olds do, generally.
My dad was like, here, study in this direction.
Right.
And then you just sort of start seeing which direction you go. And then I studied a lot of business and entrepreneurship stuff because I thought that was interesting, and then a lot of management and team management.
So you weren't
stuff.
that far off from what you ultimately ended up doing.
But it was a lot more broad. Like sometimes I try to hire guys and they're like, I really want to work on what I studied in college. And I'm like, that's very rare now, man.
I agree.
Like, you should be looking for the best opportunity to use your skills and talents. And some of the younger guys are like, no, I really want to work in this field and I'm going to hold out for that. And I'm like, you're missing the boat, bro. But
well, I think that what's funny is you end up probably chasing something you know. At least that was it for me. Like, I don't know that I loved engineering. I just knew my dad did it, and he raised a family that way, so it made sense. I don't know that I was dying to be an engineer. And so I didn't even know, because I like to write, and that's what I ultimately ended up doing. But I didn't even know that was an avenue. I think the arts was kind of this no-no area because arts doesn't often pay. And I mean, it depends on if you have a parent that's very schooled in how the arts can pay, besides being a teacher or a starving artist. There's a lot of stuff in between that people don't know about.
Yeah,
so,
right. Like Matt was on last week, and I mean, Andrea and Matt do a lot of art things that involve the arts and have turned that into a business.
Yes.
Their marketing company, Mish, does the same type of thing. Yeah, it's hard, I think, if you know I've got these artistic or creative inclinations, how can I monetize that? Well, maybe that's not painting portraits for commission portraits for $100,000 each, but there are ways for sure to channel those interests. So you grew up in an engineering household. So what was like your garage perfectly organized and perfect lawn rows?
No, one of my childhood memories is my dad worked for Missile Systems, Texas Instruments that was bought by Raytheon, and he would bring these declassified videos of things blowing up. And that's my
awesome.
childhood memory. He would pop them into the VCR and we would watch things blow up.
That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. You have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you and your sister just sitting there watching stuff blow up with dad.
Yes.
That seems kind of badass, but whatever. That's cool. The as you started to progress through your career, obviously you met Matt and you guys started a family.
Yes.
But how long have you known that you liked to write? Forever?
No. Well, I mean, I think I dabbled like any teenage girl does in a diary. I mean, like I didn't write for a decade after I graduated from high school. Probably longer, probably 15 years. I never really picked up to write just because. And then I was home with the kids and they were very little and I put them down for a nap and I had read a book that I really enjoyed and I kind of thought, well, I could do this. And I literally, that's how I began to write, is because I opened up a blank document and started messing around because I was bored. Boredom, I think, is completely underutilized in today's society.
I agree.
I have 4 kids and I am so happy when they're bored because I think that's where it's at personally.
Yeah.
So
you can, being bored is, especially if you're an ambitious or creative person, it's very uncomfortable.
yes.
So you probably have very ambitious, creative kids because of the people you and Matt are. So then pointing them in a direction, maybe giving them a little bit of an idea and seeing where that takes them. Yeah, that's what my parents did with me, man. I mean, and we were outside all the time.
Yes.
And we were always building stuff and burning stuff, and just that's what it was all
Yes,
about.
idea creation and
Absolutely.
Yes.
But you, when you were growing up, were not like, one day I'm going to be a published author.
No, I was not. It wasn't some big dream of mine.
Yeah.
However, it was a late in life dream because once
Right.
I started writing, I couldn't stop and I was like all in.
So once that, so when I talk sometimes to entrepreneurs, we talk about like when the switch gets flipped and
Right.
like the fire, ignites, and they're like, oh, whoa.
This is it.
Yeah. You put pen to paper, or however you were. How did you start writing? Pen to paper?
No,
or
I was
typing.
just computer typing.
It just started to just pour out of you.
Yes, I finished my first book in like 3 months. And then I thought, oh, I have a book. I'm going to go get it published because that's how it works, right?
Right.
And then I discovered that's actually not how it works if you're going to traditionally publish. Like there's this whole avenue you can take to self-publish, which is a completely different thing than what I ended up setting my sights on. But to get traditionally published, you have to know the craft. You have to get an agent. That agent has to sell it to a publisher and so on. And so that process, once I discovered writing, I finished a book. I brought it to some people that knew how this was done. And they said, oh, nope, you have a while yet. I started practicing the craft. And then I wrote a couple more books. And I got better and better. And then I chased down the traditional publishing dream, I guess we'll say.
Do you think that having to practice it and hone the skill took a little of the joy away, the initial joy?
No. I think it's like that 10,000 hour rule,
there you
right?
go. Yeah. Malcolm Gladwell.
It's
Absolutely.
a real thing.
Yes, it is.
And I think if you're going to succeed at something, that there are a lot of rejections and a lot of gatekeepers, that you have to have a ton of passion for it because you're going to get turned away a lot. And so it has to be for that only. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to make it past the first couple speed bumps.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true with business, creating your own business, but
Oh, I think it's very true. I think that if you have not paid your dues and had doors slammed in your face and been told no by investors or potential clients, or had bad experiences, you have nothing to base experience on. Einstein said experience is knowledge, everything else is just information. Like, right, we have this thing called the internet now. You can't just go read the internet and then go
be an expert.
Okay, I'm going to go be this. Yeah, you got to put the 10,000 hours in. What started to were the first rejections painful, or did you callous to that pretty quickly?
No, I think when you first start out, you don't know anything.
Sure.
And so when people are telling you, hey, you don't know anything, you're like, yeah, they're right. I think it got more painful the closer I got to the finish line, because at some point that you've got everything that it takes. You just need one person to say yes. And I think that's when it becomes more painful because your desire is like off the charts, and you can taste it. I think that's when it gets tough.
Sure. So once you got book number 1 done, and it's like, whoa, 3 months, look at all this that I've created. I've never done this before. Here, wow, this is awesome. Then you figure out, okay, I got some growing to do. Did you go seek out a mentor, or did your agent or manager?
No, I didn't have an agent or manager.
Okay.
That comes later in the journey. No, I found a writing organization that is basically a bunch of writers, some published, some not, that are working towards publication. And it was a bunch of mentors, people that have several books published that can just tell you this is how it's done.
I heard you saying something. I always do a little background.
Look at you,
on my guests. Yeah, I don't want to come in as just totally misinformed. That you say that a lot of people think that writing is a very solitary craft, but you disagree with that.
I do.
Why is that?
Well, because the writing part is solitary. You do have to put your butt in a seat and create worlds by yourself, but nobody creates a book in a vacuum. And I mean, this book, The Big Finish.
Big Finish, yes.
I mean, this went through Writing Workshop, which is all my trusted readers and friends. I have a couple beta readers. Those are your early readers that will actually mark up your manuscript. It's getting edited all throughout this process. Then you have an agent who puts his input into it. And then you have an editor that puts their input into it. And then a copy editor. So there's so many hands that touch a book that it's a solitary process to a point. So
when you are creating a piece of art, like a written manuscript like that, how much of that is your baby? Like my businesses are my children. Yeah. And I protect them. I defend them. I go to the ends of the earth for them. When an editor or a beta reader or your agent is like, that's a little dead, or that doesn't seem like it flows, and you're like, no, this is my vision. Or are you having to temper that because you're like, man, the goal here is to get this published.
I think you have to temper it. I think there's this middle ground where you have to know what your intent was for the project and also how to make it sellable, which is the ultimate goal. Because if I wrote this and then nobody ever saw it, then we're talking about a different kind of baby, right? Yeah. And so once I sell this and they give me money and they say, hey, we don't think this is working, I say, okay, let's figure out how to make it work.
When you went to whoever it was that you went to with your idea for The Big Finish, how much did you write? Like a short story or a novella, or how
this was completed? So how it works
is done.
Yeah, how it works, if you're going to go traditional, is for fiction, this is for fiction, you finish the manuscript and then you go shop it to agents. Okay. And you basically send it cold call, essentially, but via email. Hey, I have this story. This is what it's about. Are you interested? And 99 times out of 100, they'll say no thanks. You might have a couple people read it and say, kind of, but not enough to represent it. So that's the journey just to get the agent. And then the agent turns around and does the exact same thing with publishers. Hey, I've got this story I'm representing. Are you interested? And so I forgot the question. I'm sure it was.
We were just talking about, did you approach them with the idea?
Yeah, no, it's ready
to go.
Yeah.
Like you've put all this time into it.
Yes. This is a spec home, if you will.
Boom. Wow. Yeah. Well, see, everyone's smart. I only have smart people on this show. That's a great correlation. Yeah. You don't know. Do they like the gray color wheel or the beige color wheel? Let's hope in my case it's the gray.
Right. You got to pick what you like and hope that it translates.
You do, to a degree. And try to keep some of the eclectic ideas out and mute some things. But you do want to try to blow people's socks off when you're building or creating. The whole finding the agent thing seems like, did you actively network? Were you talking to your author
I went to
co-op?
A couple of conferences and did a little eye-to-eye work, but at the end of the day, especially with this sort of thing, your words stand alone. They stand alone on the shelf. So personal relationships will get you to a point, but if you don't have a good product, it doesn't matter.
So if you're an awesome salesman, of your authorship skills, but
if I
your
can sell you on a story
sucks.
but the words suck. Yeah. So, and you're making me think, like, just when you're starting a business or writing a book, I think the other thing that is universal is like the self-doubt when you're building a spec home per se, like, because you're doing it and you're thinking, is this dumb? Am I wasting my time? Am I spending my currency, whether it's time or whatever, in a stupid way? And you have to basically give yourself permission just to do it because you think that it's going to pan out. Do a little bit of this.
I mean, 100%.
Yes.
1,000%. I mean, I've got a list of questions up there that I ask everyone or something close to that. But I was going to ask you, when you put to see how long that list is. That's why I brought you 2 waters. No. When you put a piece of art out there, or I build something and I put it out there, I open myself up to criticism. And I don't care. If someone's like, oh, this needed a bathtub, I'm like, there wasn't room. And did you see the great room in the middle of the house? And this location's unbeatable. So I'm pretty confident, even if sometimes it's fake, because I'm just like, hey, there's no going back.
Right.
We're either all in, or let's just sit on the sidelines. And I'm not a sit on the sideline guy. You're not a sit on the sideline gal, right? Man in the arena,
yes.
Teddy Roosevelt stuff here. But when you put that out there, like when it was released and people first started reading it, did you get any negative feedback?
Well, sure. I
really?
mean,
That's crazy.
Well, but think about it. Art is a very subjective thing.
Yes.
So are home interiors and floor plans.
Yes, that's
At the end of
true.
the day, it's what people like. And if this isn't your bag, it may not. Maybe this is me lying to myself, but it may not be me. It may be you.
I
Does
think
this
that's
make sense what I'm saying?
completely true.
I just think that because it's subjective, this just may not be your thing.
Well, I think that's true in life. In
I mean,
general.
it's
a lot of
true.
times you run into somebody in the grocery store and they give you a dirty look that probably has 99% to do with what's going on in their head and 1% to do with,
Right.
We
like making it all about us, but it's not.
Yes, we are all narcissistic in our own special ways, for sure. But when you put that, I mean, were you nervous? Were there sleepless nights? I'm going to put this out there. I've put so much time into this.
No, I think because this was I think this is my 6th manuscript.
Yeah.
I had done my 10,000 hours. I know that I'm not a bad writer. You may not like my story. There may be parts that you wish were there, just like the house metaphor. But at the end of the day, like I actually think this is the best I could put out. I don't know where you go from there.
Yeah. I mean, it's take it or leave it type stuff.
Right. But not in a bad way. I mean,
no.
I hope they take it. But
Absolutely.
But
No, you're a very pleasant person. I mean, we're not talking about you're trying to browbeat someone with your story.
I just think that, if you like mysteries or you like thrillers or you like romances, you like thrillers or romances.
Right.
And if somebody hands you a space opera, that may not be your thing.
Yeah.
I thought I silenced that.
Oh, you're good. No one watches this anyways.
I'm sure it's very important.
That whole thing that most artists will say, and some business people will say too, that the burning desire to get it out there, get it started, was what far outweighed the trepidation or the fear.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
And I think once you have your sights on what your goal is, and my goal was a book on Barnes & Noble shelves, everything else can just, I don't care.
Did you write that goal down?
In my head.
Yeah.
I branded it in my brain.
Yeah.
Jess.
And I'm just not going to quit till it's there type.
Yeah.
That's a lofty goal.
Well, but I'm type A and I'm also very linear. So it was. By the time once I decided it was just going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're writing a story, especially a long story, I mean, that's a full novel. That's
right.
not, that's not a 50-page children's book or something.
Right.
That's a full-on, that takes a few days to get through. But it's a flow. The read flows. It's a great book.
Thank you.
When you're putting that together, do you know where it's going to end up?
No.
Or is your creativity moving like a river?
It's more like a river.
Interesting.
And much like life, I don't think any of us know where it's going to end. I think some people plot, but I'm not partial to that. I like the surprise of finding myself at the end of a chapter and not having expected it when I'm writing. And so generally I have an idea, beginning, middle, end. I have a theme I think I'm tackling But beyond that, I just have a few little snippets in my head, and they kind of show up like movie reels in my head, and I just kind of write towards them. And that's how I...
That's a lot of duality there. You're type A linear. Right. But this career path, if you want to call it, I mean, this is what you do now.
Yes.
And you're a mother. That's not very linear. That is letting your mind, create. That's a very free place to be.
I know. I think, when I took the SAT, I split it in half. I was just as good at the English side as the math side. And so I think I can use both sides of my brain. But ironically, when I write, it's often chronological order. I can't write outside of that. So anyway, I don't know if that's...
So you can't Pulp Fiction it?
No. Maybe I could.
That's a hard way. That has to be a hard
storytelling
way
does not compute for me if I'm the one doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That speaks to your linear nature.
Yes.
Then. The ideas that you have while you're writing this book, are you having ideas about other books? No. You're all in on this?
Yes, I can write a short story, but generally I have a friend, JB, and he has tons of ideas all the time. He's got stories just waiting in his back pocket to be written, and I am not like that.
Gotcha. My mom is an educator, both of my parents are, and so they're always reading. Yeah. And everyone always says if you're going to be a good entrepreneur, a good business person, you should read a book a week. Right, that's like that's a
tall order.
Yes, it is. But my mom reads books, so she will have like some heavy reading, and she'll take a break from that and read some lighter reading, and then go back. She'll have like 3 or 4 going at any given time, almost like she's, put the movie up for a minute and then goes and watches a commercial.
Yes,
it's very interesting. I can't do that. I read all
One
the
book.
way. Yeah,
I'm
and
like
a lot
that
of times I get so engaged, I'll even dream about something that I'm reading. If it's long, but it's very odd. Did you ever dream about
I think you're always, when you write a book, you're always thinking about it.
You're
always trying to work it out. But you made me think there is actually a book that I think is fantastic for anybody that has a dream, entrepreneurs, whatever. And it's the Wright brothers by McCullough, I think it is. But it's basically about their hyper focus on finding a way to fly.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because of it, all the times that they didn't get it right and all the time they spent, and they became almost obsessed with it. And it's just an interesting story because I think it's just a microcosm of what anybody goes through to make their baby live.
Yeah, right. When you're working on something that, and obsessed has become this weird, people say that and it has this weird negative connotation. It's okay for Michael Jordan to be obsessed with.
Well, that's how he's so good at what he does.
Exactly. But if I do it, then I don't know, man. You need to be a little more balanced.
Well, I do think balance. I mean, here's a strange and interesting fact. Neither of the Wright brothers ever got married.
Yeah.
I mean, they were married to the idea of flight. So I think there is a good balance. I'm sure you would agree.
Yes.
But
I totally think there is. I mean, Einstein didn't have the greatest home life. Yeah, he comes up twice in this. But yeah, a lot of really, really driven people who do things that they're remembered for a long time.
They were hyper focused.
I mean, we're talking scary.
Yeah. Probably on the spectrum, scary.
Maybe.
We're all on the spectrum.
Yeah, we are. But yes, no, there's that obsession where, you're on fire for it.
Yeah.
Was that intoxicating to you when you started to find that, man, this writing thing is really my jam? Like that engineering thing was cool.
Yes.
But this is absolutely
that's how I
up.
felt. That's how I felt about it. And people would be like, "Are you ever going to go engineer again?" And I'd be like, "And not if I can help it." And I mean, I like it so much. I do a lot of copywriting for corporations and stuff. And that was actually what was gap fill between publishing a book and being an engineer is I write copy. And I had no idea you could monetize writing before that because, I didn't live in that world. Like I said, my parents, my dad worked for the man and my mom worked in a school, and the normal jobs that you hear what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, it's lawyer, doctor. Right. I mean, there's just a very short list, and I didn't really realize how much there is outside of it. And I think that we have kids, and I'm always, anytime I'm driving, I will point out buildings because there's so many career paths and so many jobs out there that nobody ever mentions. But I think it's important to know, like, you can write commercials. Like, that's a thing. Yeah. You should know that, right?
You can record, if you're a musician, you can record jingles.
That's a thing.
That sells a lot of product.
Yes, 100%.
Oh, I love that you are passing that entrepreneurial, those observations down to your kids. Because I think as the world changes, a lot of people talk about all the changes, they're negative, this and that. But as things as they open up, you get more opportunity through social media and things like that to build an audience. Or so people can see your art or hear your art or listen to what you have to say. It's very cool.
It is very cool, but there's a saturation problem.
For sure.
As you know.
There's way too much content.
There's a lot of content. And so then the next trick is, like, how do you get noticed? And I mean, at least for writing, that's why I was traditional published all the way, because self-publishing is you press a button and you get into this trough with 10 million other people that are self-publishing. And I'm sure it's the same with all businesses. There is a pathway that will lead you to more C's, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
The you talked about that it wasn't a goal when you were young, but that when how old were you when you started writing that first one?
Well, people are gonna know how old I am.
You don't have to say. I'm just saying. You were 22.
Yeah. Oh, I'm 22 forever.
Yes.
Let me think. I have to do the math.
I can tell you stay hydrated.
I was probably in my 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I mean, I don't know if that's considered late in life to figure out what you want to be.
Do you have like other career goals, bucket list items, things like that?
After this?
Yeah.
You don't
have to state them here. I have lots of things that I want to do.
I'm one of those people that there's a lot of jobs out there where I think, God, that would be cool. I would love to write a screenplay. That's not too far away from this, but I still think that's something I'd like to tackle. And if all of this fails, I would love to be, Mad Men. I would love to go write commercials and stuff. Just mini stories, basically, is what they are.
Definitely. I always find, because I love movies, that when I read a book, I start to see a character in my mind's eye, I don't know. I had like a Jack Lemmon vibe from Duffy, kind of.
Yes.
That was sort of the way, from Grumpy Old Men and all. I mean, Jack's and Glenn Ross. This is
throwback, but in my mind, Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah, sure.
Who is dead, but he would have been great.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the main character.
Screenplays. Yeah, that would be cool. What about speeches?
I have worked at the Republican Texas convention for a production company that you and I both know, Pixel.
Yeah.
Just in the back as a stagehand. And it was interesting because I was just a third party. I had no dog in the race, but I sat and listened to some of the speeches that were given, and I sure as hell did think, oh, I could do better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
So I think speech writing is 100% within my wheelhouse. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much that you can do once you learn the craft of writing, that you can go monetize. It's just.
Do you look back at your years at Lockheed and think, man, I didn't realize it, but I felt so trapped?
Yeah, I can't even pass by the building, whether it's Raytheon, Texas Instruments, Lockheed, without getting itchy.
Like a little PTSD type?
Yeah, it wasn't a bad time either. I had great buddies there and worked on some cool things. But now that I know what it feels like to really, really enjoy what you're doing, I could not go back.
There's this weird claustrophobia to being told when to arrive, when you can eat, when you may vacation, things of that nature.
Yes, 100%.
Does not exist when you are running your own venture, whether it's creating art or running a business. But the flip side is that it completely rises and falls with your efforts.
The security is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a weird sensation. If you catch it when you're young enough, you can get used to it and kind of just ride your own energy. But when you start getting old, like me, into your 40s, that energy is good.
We're 22.
But
We're 22.
Yes, that's right. But it becomes finite.
Yes.
It's not just endless. The whole putting yourself out there, trying this, not realizing it was something you wanted to do, then you did it, you got published. What's your biggest fear?
After this?
Just in general with regard to, creating more.
I think it's that I won't be able to do it again. I mean,
because everyone says everyone has one good book in them, right? Isn't that a big...
Well, seeing how this was the 6th I written, but it does feel different now that I have a deadline. I am no longer really a solo artist. I mean, I have somebody who has deadlines and expects things, and
we're not going to talk about it very much, but you're working on something else.
Yes.
Is the what's that like to be on a deadline? Is the sensation different than when you jammed that whole out and took it to them?
I think when I put my own pressure on me, that's one thing. But when I know other people have expectations, that's a completely different thing. And so it's just working through your expectations and others' expectations for you.
What are they coming at you going, we need 50 pages by...
No, they're in my head. Don't
Gotcha.
you know?
Yes, I do. All too well, Brooke. All too well. I asked
They're not going to like it.
Yeah. Right. That self-doubt that we talked about.
Self-doubt, yes.
Which is, when you do something and the success of it comes down to you, to your creativity or your ingenuity or your intellectual acumen. It's daunting.
Yes.
Because you can get paralysis by analysis, but you just have to kick that door down.
Yes.
Almost just like, hey, whatever.
I think that is probably my biggest struggle, is once you start analyzing, well, is this how it's done? Is this how it should be done? I think that's my biggest struggle, is just to move past the linear thought and just let it go.
Free your mind like the Matrix.
Yes.
Right, like so that author may have done that way, and that's cool, but this is how I'm going to do it. And then where do you and how do you temper the whole trust your gut with, that they're doing that, that's interesting, maybe I'll try that. You know what I mean? That's a hard one for me.
Trusting yourself?
Yeah, man, because if I just follow my gut on everything, well, I'd never quit working, ever. I'd never sleep, I'd never eat. And I would just blow through red flags and stop signs. So I'm like, no, I can fix that. I can handle
those
that.
red flags are party favors for you.
They are. They seem to be. This is an issue. I'm working hard to rectify. How do you temper I'm gonna go this route with the comparing, because comparing yourself to others is a real killer of creativity.
It is. I agree. I don't know that I struggle with that so much. I think there's a lot of, with any entrepreneurial endeavor, you have to give yourself permission to do it. And after that, nobody else matters. I mean, you have to have your peripheral vision open. Like if you see that this exit's closed, then you have to reroute, right? Red flags, you should be generally paying attention to, just because. But also, if you think of like Elon Musk and stuff, like that guy, he could care less what everybody thinks, and he doesn't even care if you think his idea is dumb. He's going to go do it, and that's what makes him so successful. Because I mean, it's just out of this world.
He just keeps producing
strange and interesting things.
I mean, that dude's on a different astral
plane.
Yeah.
I mean, forget it.
I mean, the innovation, the things the way he thinks, the way he talks, it's very interesting.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if there's actually a brain in there, if there's maybe a mechanized.
We're back in the Matrix.
Yeah, it's very interesting. When you're writing your 6th manuscript and it is flowing, do you ever have days where you're like, man, I just don't feel like it today? And do you fight through that, or do you feel like, man, that'd take away from the joy of it? So today,
I think with writing, some people think there's a muse, but there's actually just, you need to sit down and put the words on the page, whether you feel like it or not. I mean, there is a job aspect to it as well, and I don't think you can finish a book without that mentality, or it'll take you 20 years, I think.
Or do you consider yourself an ambitious person?
I think I dream big. Yes. Yeah. If I'm going to chase something, I usually aim pretty high.
Yeah. There's an interesting difference between artists. My sister is an artist, so is my grandmother, very accomplished. There's an interesting there's almost a guilt sometimes with artists if they feel like, hey, I've got this ambition. I want to do this. I want to create this. I want it to be seen. Mm-hmm. What they tell me is, well, but this is my thing. So if my only goal is to get it seen, I feel like maybe I'm encroaching a little bit on the gift.
Selling out.
Yeah.
I think that I am at an advantage because I didn't grow up as an artist.
Yeah.
Because to me, if you're going to produce your art, nobody's going to see it. Like if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? Tell me where I can sell this. Tell me how many people I can show this to. Show me how to do that. I mean, that's how I feel about it.
That's very cool. I know you said your father passed away before this.
My grandfather, yeah.
Grandfather did. Okay. What does your dad think about?
He thinks it's awesome. He is actually my biggest fan.
That's awesome.
And he calls me almost every day to see how the next book is coming.
Really?
Yes.
Did you, while you were writing, ever workshop ideas? I was watching a podcast with Joe Rogan and Chuck Palahniuk, the guy who wrote Fight Club. That's a very interesting subject.
It is an
material.
interesting story. I mean, he went bankrupt there for a little bit.
Yeah, his agent or manager stole all of his money. But he was talking about that whole writing in solitude thing, but that he would go to the gym and he would workshop these ideas with dudes in the steam room or at the squat rack and get really crazy perspectives on it. And then he would integrate that into his flow of ideas. When you're going to that writer's workshop, are you doing some of that?
Yes, absolutely. It's a table read essentially. You read it and then you're not allowed to say anything. People are just going to tell you what they think. And it's super helpful because it's not a bunch of people like you. And I think writing is an interesting profession because it is so demographically diverse. I mean, you can sit at a table at workshop any given week and you will have a pilot lawyer, you will have a tree surgeon, you will have a bus driver. I mean, there's so many people that are trying to write a book and you get all these different perspectives and I think it's amazing. That
collaborative, while you're there, you're listening to the way other people write, or you're listening to other people's ideas, or they're giving you input on your ideas. Are you sitting there making notes?
100%. Yeah. And I like that it's not a homogeneous portal, like.
Is it pretty rough and tumble sometimes?
Yeah, they can tell you when something stinks. 100%.
Are all bets off if someone says something that's not politically correct or something like that? Do people get offended? Like Chuck was talking about, he got kicked out of a few for saying things. I mean, some of the stuff he writes is way out there, but he got kicked out of a few just because he offended people.
This is the organization is DFW Writers Workshop for anybody that is looking for something in the area, but it's a free speech organization. So somebody will read a political piece and somebody will read erotica. I mean, it's all over the map.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
And nothing phases you.
Well, no, I mean, you're there to talk about the craft.
Yeah.
And so the topic is usually a moot point.
Right.
I mean, anything
you're seeing the way it's structured, laid out, and flowing, and the topic is a much lower priority.
Right.
I got you. If you get stuck or you feel stuck, is the brainstorming or trying to get out of your comfort zone helpful to you with regard to kind of kickstarting the creative juices, or do you feel like that's not a problem for you?
No, I think when you get stuck, it means something's wrong in the story to the point where you are stuck. And so usually you have to back it up. That's for me. I have to back the train up and see what I did wrong.
Gotcha.
Somewhere. Storytelling's a funny thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not around the campfire,
right?
Drinking beers, right? I mean, you're putting it down and you're organizing it,
right?
How do you decide how to split everything up into chapters?
I don't know. That's a feel thing, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Just like when a thought or a scene has concluded.
Just like if you would make a paragraph break. I don't think it's any different.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there conventional rules of thumb about writing that you reject, or that you're like, that's a nice thought,
out of hand reject? You know, they say generally not to use cliches, but I think cliches are super useful and a very quick way to get somebody wherever you want them to be going. So I think a well-placed cliche is useful. I don't know. I mean, there's like little stuff like that.
Right. I'm always fascinated by Hemingway. His life was ended tragically, and you've got some topic matter in this book. The one of the characters is struggling with a battle with the bottle.
Yes.
Hemingway was obsessed with editing. And he would, as how tall guys stand at a dresser and just type the same page over and over till it was shorter. Are there things that you have to temper within yourself? Like,
yes.
Hey, I really want to describe this with flowery language, but I have to back that off and be.
I think I've got more of the Hemingway disease where I will work on a scene over and over again till it's perfect, but then at the end of the day, I may not need the scene. And so that's hurts because you've spent a lot of time perfecting something that is actually unnecessary. And I wish sometimes that I could just push through and just keep writing and then do the perfecting later. So
the pages on the floor, though, goes to your 10,000 hours.
It does.
And
it does.
When you are a 10,000 hour expert, that's great.
Yes.
But when you're a 30,000 hour expert, that's even better.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different level, you know?
Yes.
And that's part of that didn't work, or I had to leave that on the cutting room floor. But if you had never fleshed that out and written that and explored that, then you'd never really know where it would have gone anyways.
Yeah, and this reminds me, Stephen King has this famous thing that's kill your darlings, which is basically edit. You gotta let go of the things you love. And I think, to your point earlier about not ignoring red flags, sometimes that requires you to kill your darlings.
Sure.
And it's a useful tool sometimes if you can stomach it.
Is there a certain part of you that is more loyal to the story than to your preferences? That's part of that kill your darlings thing. You're reading through the story and you're like, man, that's a great little sidebar I put in there, but that takes
it doesn't
away,
serve the story.
Doesn't hit to the heart of what I wanted to hit to.
Right. It has to go.
Yeah. The self-criticism, how is that something? Is that something you battle every day?
Yes. It's never good enough, right?
Right.
I mean, I think that's an artist's cross to bear.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's part of the obsession too, always trying to get better.
Right. I mean, it makes me think of the Mona Lisa. They said that underneath the paint is 7 other Mona Lisas. Right. I don't know. I'm making that number up, but I think that's just how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it can't ever be just quite right. When you got to the end of that and they were ready, they said it's okay. Were you like, no, one more?
No, but I mean, even now, it's not changing. This is the book, but even now, I'm like, ooh, I could have done that differently.
Yes.
I think that's something that is real.
I do that all the time in construction, or I see an idea and I'm like, man,
that's a good idea.
Dang it. I wish I would have cantilevered that balcony instead of supporting it with posts. Whatever. Yeah, the second guessing is
right.
Maybe get an idea for next time, but I'm always struggling with not patting myself on the back enough, criticizing myself too much to a degree, but it's just not something that I don't just wake up every day and go, man.
Oh yeah, no.
You're good at what you do, bro. I'm not doing that in the mirror, I'm always
that would be helpful.
What am I missing? What's going on? What are we forgetting? How can we be better?
What do they call it? It's like the poser syndrome, where you always, what is that called? And you always think that you actually don't belong where you are. Man. Like I'm on the shelf next to some amazing authors, and I think they've made a mistake. Imposter syndrome.
Good call.
Thank you.
Yes,
I think that's the pinnacle of self-doubt is like you have made it and you have a book or you're successful in your field, but you still don't feel like you should be.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who have really fast economic success feel that too. Like, I don't know if I deserve this. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take
But somebody's made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, but they're gonna figure out that I'm not as talented as they think I am. Right. And one day we're all going to wake up and they're going to figure out
Cat's going to be out of the bag.
Yeah. But if you keep putting in the work, for me, I'm just going to keep putting in the work because that is what assuages my self-doubt
Yes.
and my fear.
What is that? I actually have this saying on my fridge right now: the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Thomas
Yes,
Jefferson.
100%.
Yes, absolutely. There's no substitute for it.
Right.
Obviously, the work-life balance is, I mean, you have a very busy home life.
Yes.
And a very busy husband. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Matt. I'm sure he's watching.
How do you strike that balance? And when do you write throughout your day? Are you like, okay, 3 o'clock, 3 to 5?
I'll tell you.
Office hours.
COVID with 4 kids doing homeschool really threw a wrench in my writing, and it made me be in a perpetually grumpy mood.
Gotcha. I bet.
But now they're in school, so I'm trying to get back in the groove. I mean, it's real. I think everybody's busy, right?
Yeah.
And some things have to go and some things don't. Like sometimes we don't make dinner.
Yeah.
Sometimes the laundry isn't done. Sometimes I don't write. I mean, you just have to be flexible, but
Yeah.
I think you just can't sit.
Yeah, man, you got to
Right?
be adaptable.
Yeah.
But yes, but doing nothing is not an option.
Right. Exactly.
In one way, shape, or form, always moving
To
in a
accomplish
direction
something. Yes.
Yeah. What was that like when you're all stoked to put this out? I started seeing your social media. You were going to drop this, and then
Yes.
obviously the pandemic hit. Were you pissed when that
I
first
wasn't
started?
pissed. I mean, I think all things with purpose. I'm a believer. So, but I mean, there's definitely an expectation gap that I had to jump over because 10 years working towards this, finally have a book, finally have a release. I've, 100+ rejections. I have been through it, and this is the culmination of a lot of hard work. And so my expectations were the book release. My expectations were going on live events. I mean, all of it. Book
Yeah.
signings. I
Right.
haven't had a proper book signing yet. It's a bummer.
No doubt.
But life's full of disappointments. It is what it is. I
That's
mean,
true.
it sounds so, there's my cliche for the day. It is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
you just move on.
Yeah.
And so,
You just level with the fact that maybe there are people who have it worse than me.
well,
and so
there
I'm not-
absolutely people.
I'm not going to cry in my beer about this.
Right,
Because there are worse problems, but it is a bummer. We talk about those rejections. 100 of them?
Oh, that's a low
a
estimate.
low estimate?
Yes. 100%.
But you're an engineer, so you would never over-exaggerate. But you're an author, so you might
I might.
over-exaggerate.
No, that's a low estimate. So I would, as I got my second book, I shopped around a little bit. I'm going to say probably 30 times. And once I got those rejections, I started writing the next one. The book before this one, I was at 80 queries to agents who all turned me down. But a couple said, I like how you write. Send me your next one. So once I finally was querying this one, I only had to send it out 30 times. And I got a offer for rep.
Gotcha.
So
Your agent who helped you with this one?
Yes.
Same individual helping you with the next
yes,
one?
yeah. It's Folio
Awesome.
Literary. It's fantastic.
That's
it's in
awesome.
New York.
You
Very
brought
official.
one of your rejection letters.
I
didn't
did. I didn't know how this was going to go, but
Yeah.
this is just regrettably,
you?
that's in there. Regrettably, we are going to pass. And it's actually on this book here. And I think it's just a testament to sometimes red flags are party favors. This is my party favor. I have this hanging on my bulletin board because it's just part of the process
Yeah.
to get into the end.
Yeah, man. I remember when I was in college, we're all rugby players. For
I
the
think
good
everyone
and the
should
bad
know.
of
I
that.
used to play lacrosse next to y'all's
Yeah.
rugby
Yes, you
stuff.
did.
So
Yep. And I'm friends with tons of A&M guys. Well, we would play these this one team with this one guy, and he was like my rival. And he got chosen for a team, a select team, and I did not. And so I printed that like the roster like 8 times and put it up everywhere. Put it in my
for motivation.
home. Yes. And that's kind of what you did with that.
Yes.
You put it up and you're just like, you know what? I don't care how hard this is. I'm not quitting. That's
Yeah.
not in my vocabulary.
However, there's the however,
Yeah.
the but. It makes me think I actually played tennis a lot, and I was going to play tennis collegiately, and I ended up going to A&M, and I wasn't good enough to be on the Aggie team. I actually tried to walk on twice, and I was a hitting partner, it was nothing.
Yeah.
However, sometimes when you do finally hit the last brick wall, you end up going in a different, better direction. So,
And you found lacrosse.
I found lacrosse. I found some fantastic friends,
Yeah.
and ultimately it led to me meeting my husband. And so
Yeah.
that's how life is, right?
It is. It is very weird. Because sometimes those red flag party favors do point you in different
Yeah.
directions. Mine was football, which then became
Rugby.
and then the rest was history.
And
for
here
me.
we are. We would not be on this together.
You are. That is correct. Yeah, because I would have never known Patrick, and Patrick introduced me to Matt and Tim and Mish, and I mean, now we're all fast friends. But that's the way life is. When on the book preceding this, when you had 80 rejections, when did you just finally call it and say, okay, this one isn't going to make it, I'm starting a new one?
Well, I was aiming high, and so I was only querying tier 1 literary agents. And so once I ran a tier 1, because I told you I was dreaming big, like I wanted the big contract, I wanted the big publisher, I wanted it all. Once I ran out of big ticket agents, I put it on the shelf.
Do you think you'll ever go back and revisit that one?
I have a book that I definitely want to revisit, and I think it's worthy. I just think I wasn't ready. So it'll need some editing, but it'll one day see the light.
Yeah.
So
when you say it wasn't ready and you weren't ready, is it just the way it flows that maybe lacked the seasoning or the maturity?
I mean, I think just like your projects, I'm sure you learn something from every project. So the writing is no different. I mean, one book you're going to learn how to characterize better. One book you'll learn how to storytell better. Maybe you'll learn how to edit better. So I think if I go back, I'm going to use all the tools I now have in my toolbox to make that the kind of book that deserves to be on the shelf.
Gotcha.
So
when we've already talked about the collaborative efforts of getting ideas and getting direction from your peers, your team, your professional team. How important is it for you to keep that continuity? Because I cannot stand working with people who I don't like.
Yes.
Even if they're like top producers, but I don't like them as people. It's very difficult for me to go in all in with them. How much do you work on those interpersonal relationships with your professional team?
I think a lot. I mean, I have a beta reader, John Bartel, and we've read each other's books for a long time. And I've told him, I said, I don't know how I'm going to write a book without you with your snide comments in the margin telling me that this sucks. I don't think I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. And then if your agent or your agent rep is coming to you and there's not mutual respect there, and they're, criticizing you and you feel attacked or vice versa, then that's not going to work well either.
It's not. I think you have to have a pretty thick skin, though, in this business and probably all businesses. So I've never once felt attacked. Have you? Do you feel attacked?
Yeah, there's people who come at me, but I take things really personally.
Oh.
That's part of my I find that to be a strength and a weakness.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Because I really take things to heart, so I go the extra mile a lot. And when people come at me, my immediate reaction is not, oh, this is probably more about them than it is about me.
No, I should be clear. I think I take things personally. I just don't have a lot of emotional reaction.
Yeah.
Does this make sense what I'm saying?
It does, but
I make the changes. Like if
Yeah.
somebody says something, I will sit on it for 2 days until ultimately I'm like, damn it, they were right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I work, but
Right.
I never feel attacked generally.
I feel like you probably look at that as in that analytical
It is. I
linear
think that's
fashion,
what
though.
I think
Like,
that's what I do.
hey, coach is giving me this pointer, and if I put this into practice, I think I could win.
Right.
So I'm going to do that. And I think I'm just a little different. I'm very, very headstrong and stubborn. So it's very. Sometimes it takes the 4x4 to the forehead for me to get the message. But hey, we all live and learn. We all have a different process.
That's funny.
When you're between books, no ideas when you're focused on that. But when you're between, are you, interesting idea.
I am. I'm doing a little palette cleansing with short stories, or often copywriting will be a palette cleanser because I get to work on something that, I mean, it's just for somebody else, So that's helpful.
I mean, that's interesting. I do you have like lists on lists of stuff, and is it hard for you? It's very hard for me to go to sleep at night without writing a list. I write a list every night. No?
No, not a list maker.
Ah,
generally.
I am. Much to the chagrin of people in my family who find scrap paper lists all over the place.
Yeah, that's more me. I mean, truly, even my notes on my book, I mean, I have computer loose leaf everywhere, and once I write it down, I don't know that I go and find it after the fact, but
yeah, I write it all down. I do then go scan back through, and then if by some miracle everything on that scrap paper is done, then I will throw it out. But if there's one left, there's one item left, I will leave it.
Well, good for you.
Well, it's one of those self-punishing things, though. So that's a list. I didn't get it done, so I want that to remind me the next day.
And so the self-flagellation
yes,
plans.
1,000. Yeah, absolutely.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, 100%. The topic of adversity came up when I first asked you if you could carve out some time to come talk with us, and you said, "Man, yes, I want to come talk to you." And that was a month or two into. No, that was in July. So we were 3-4 months into COVID. Mm-hmm. But obviously, you've encountered adversity a few times. If you were trying to make it on the tennis team and it didn't work.
Yeah.
If you're getting 80 no's to an idea.
Yep.
They're pretty much telling you, no, this sucks.
Yes, thank you for reminding me, Jesse.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime, Brooke. How do you confront and how do you embrace adversity? What does adversity do to you, for you?
Okay. Wow. Adversity, I think, is growth, right?
Yeah.
That's the basis,
right.
I believe, because there's no change unless there's some sort of trial. And that's actually an axiom for storytelling anyway, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But adversity shapes us, I think, and it leads our lives. And I think that it's really easy to get in the fetal position and rock back and forth. I think that's an option. But I think also the better option is just to keep moving. Mm-hmm. Forward march, I guess.
Absolutely. One foot in front of the other. How important is that home life relationship with your significant other who's cheering you on?
I think it's so important. I think Matt, who I think will come and talk to you as well, because he's got a couple of cool things cooking.
Yeah, he does.
We both allow each other to do our thing. And we're each other's cheerleaders, and I think you need that. You need at least one person in your corner, right?
Absolutely.
To be telling you to keep moving.
Who doesn't just always need things from you.
Right.
Right? Because your kids are probably your cheerleaders too, but you gotta...
I don't even know. I mean, yes, I'm their mom. I need to drive them places, and yes, I don't think they care about my career so much.
Taxi driver, the head chef, the security guard.
They're lovely children, just to be clear. But
I got it. No, I get it. I got you. I have 6 nephews.
I had to. The first time a bookstore opened, and I got to see the book out in public. I made the kids get in the car. And my teenager was really underwhelmed because she had to put some plans aside. And then when she came into the bookstore, she had her arms crossed and the eye roll. And I was like, look, 10 years of work finally realized. And it's just like... She's
like, Mom, we don't even read books.
We don't even care
anymore. Everything's
don't
Kindle.
Care.
What? Talk to me about this. You've had this translated into German?
Germany bought it. Yeah,
that's
my agent
awesome.
sold it to Germany. So that's cool to see everything. Sprechen die Deutsch, or however you say it.
No doubt.
And the title for the German is, at the end, there are fireworks, which there are, right?
Yeah, supposedly.
That's what I hear.
They say. Yeah, we all hope. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Have you gotten feedback in German? Or from Germans?
No.
They're very analytical.
They are.
The best engineers in the world come from Germany. I'm half German.
Are you?
I didn't get the engineering.
What's the other half?
Scottish.
Yeah. All the way over there in that European side.
You couldn't tell?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the Germans think of it. I'm sure they love it. Yes.
How did that happen, though? The publisher just puts out feelers?
There's a World Book Fair where they all go and sell American manuscripts, hopefully, for translation.
Right on.
So,
any other languages on the horizon?
No. You know, what's interesting is like a historical fiction might be sellable in a different country if it's on World War II, because that was universal, right? This is an American assisted living. Culturally, it may be more specific to Europe and America. So that's how things get translated. Whether you can, I mean, if I wrote a cowboy Western, I'm not sure that China would be translating it.
No, but
for
the
purchase.
Italians like Westerns.
They might. Yeah, you're
Remember
right.
all the spaghetti Westerns
Yes.
and all of that? I learned a lot about that in that movie, that Quentin Tarantino movie, Once Upon a
That's
Time
right.
in Hollywood. That
That's
was funny.
funny.
I was like, that was a thing? Then I started looking, pulling it up on, of course, YouTube, and I was like, this is crazy.
That's really funny. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's the hardest thing for you to get over the hump to imagine that, you know, the next 5 years are going to hold in store for you? You're going to get this next one out there and then start working on the next one? Or is it going to, do you feel like it's going to ramp up? Or do you feel like it's going to tail off and you're going to go more in the copywriting direction?
No, I mean, I hope to make this a thing.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes I have a hard time fitting my personal life and my professional goals into my head, because with 4 kids, and essentially, you know, Matt works full time. It all has to get done.
Right.
And I'm a believer in, you know, giving my family my best, and this will get the rest. It's frustrating at times though, because this is a personal desire for me. And so I think that's the biggest struggle I have. When I try to look 5 years ahead, I want to see really awesome things happening. I want to see a screen adaptation. You know,
Yeah.
I want it all.
I want to see that movie.
I want to see that movie, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just going to keep working and trust the journey and keep taking care of my family. But at the end of the day, when I lay my head down, I think that's my biggest struggle is I didn't write enough today. But I did a lot of other stuff that's probably at the end of the day more important. It's just hard when you really want something. Does this make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And it seems like writing is really your jam. Like it really fulfills you.
It's my jam. And
Like if you went on vacation and it was maybe just you,
Oh,
or
I'd
just
write.
you and Matt, you just write
oh yeah, I would write.
the whole time.
I mean, I would hang out with him too.
Because I don't think if I went on vacation that I
You would be doing construction?
No, I don't think I would be building. Because actually, when I go like to families' houses and they're like, "Hey, can you come over here and what should we do over here?" And I'm just like, "Well, yeah,
You're like, I'm off the clock.
yeah, we need some piers in the ground, and yeah." But I don't know. I definitely like creating and thinking, and I'm always thinking about entrepreneurship and building and stuff like that.
Well, I think that's
but
it. That's it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Because really, if
You're probably thinking that on your vacation too.
I am.
That's it.
Yes, again, much to the chagrin of those closest to me. I'm not just on the beach with a Mai Tai.
Yeah, I wish I could be like that. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. I actually envy people that can do that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't see how they do
I don't
that.
either. I think we will never know. Just
No, we will not. What's the hardest thing, or what do you do practically to stay positive when you're getting 80 no's? You just say, no, I'm gonna be on a bookshelf at Barnes and Noble, and negativity be damned. Because what I do is that negativity, those losses, they just don't exist.
I think
I am
that's
on
it.
to the next.
I think that's it. You're just pushing.
Yeah.
You just keep pushing,
Yeah.
trying to move the rock.
And yes, even if you're pushing it up the hill, right, and it's rolling back down on
Right.
you, just get up and do it again. What we've talked about balance, life balance. Obviously, the family, the career balance is tough. How important to you is physical fitness and nutrition with regard to keeping your
Oh man,
all of your faculties at their prime level?
I like it.
Yeah.
There's only 24 hours in a day,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I mean, I try to do something active every single day, but sometimes that's just cleaning my house. That counts, right?
Absolutely.
I
So you
think
put music on and you really
totally
get
counts.
into it.
I don't
Yeah.
worry about it too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think busy people generally stay active.
And they get things done.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to get something done, find a busy person.
Right.
They'll figure out how to get it done.
Yes.
Busy people are also very resourceful, which obviously you went the route of finding going with the conventional publisher, and went about it in that very orthodox way. Do you see that as always being the way, or are things changing now as tech continues to
No, for me personally, because I think it's a personal choice, I don't want to I don't want to find a copy editor. I don't want to figure out how to market this. I don't want to find its placement in the bookstore. I don't want to be figuring out how to make sure people hear about it. That kind of stuff makes my head want to explode. I want somebody else to do that.
Gotcha.
So when you're self-publishing, you're in charge of it all. So if anyone is out there thinking about self-publishing or writing their book, just take in consideration writing the book's the easy part, I think.
Well, and that's part of why I wanted to have you on, because a lot of people in the entrepreneurship space do endeavor to write a book, whether it's a loosely based autobiography or a how-to of some sort, and then they'll sell them in a space and become a best-selling author in that very limited
niche
demographic. Yeah. But it is proven that when you can tell someone that you're a published author or a best-selling published author, that it does add a lot of authority to your
platform.
Yeah,
and all that
absolutely.
Mess.
I mean, now you can just go around and go, not only am I published, but I'm published.
Well, and I think that's really one of the things that has muddied the waters, because every time I say, yeah, I write, I have a book out, 9 times out of 10, somebody will be like, oh, I have a friend that wrote a book.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, but how did they write the book? Because it's a completely different animal.
Are you an elitist, Brooke?
I think I am a little bit, only because to run this race is a different thing than to self-publish.
Yeah.
This is arduous. This is a browbeat. This is no joke.
This is the NFL.
This is not for the faint of heart,
yeah.
right? And I'm not to put down self-publish, because I actually have a lot of friends that have done it well and have beautiful books out. But they eventually, they got a couple rejections and said, forget this, I'm going over here. And so it's just a different animal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
when you were tracking down that agent, which seems like step one and the hardest.
That's step one. That's the first key.
Were you following up? Or were you they said no and you're just like, all right, on to the next?
Yeah, no, there's some decorum in all this is unknown in the industry. So
yeah.
once someone declines you, you move on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the publishing industry space culture is very buttoned up to a degree.
It is. I liken it to anybody who is probably chasing and acting. It's not different, really. You have to get an agent, and then they have to go shop you around. To get an agent, you have to have a portfolio of work. And so it works like that.
Gotcha.
Similar.
Have you ever thought about changing your setting? Like, hey, when the kids are off to college, I want to go to the Mediterranean for 6 months and write.
Like in the movies?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, you see authors in movies. I mean, I'm seeing the way you
made
write
up, Jess.
Okay. Well, I mean, that shows how much I know. That's why you're here.
I think it'd be awesome, to go find a cabin in the woods.
Yeah. Well, that's what Hemingway did,
yeah.
right? He would always go change his. I guess I'm stuck on Hemingway for some reason.
Yeah, I don't think Hemingway had 4 kids.
No.
And a dog.
And that's probably for the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had the what is it? The 6-toed cats. That's what he had.
Yeah, he had that, and a lot of personal demons.
Yeah.
And I don't think kids would have worked out.
No,
really
I think that's why Hemingway was changing his venue often.
Yeah, I think so too.
No, I think that's a lovely idea.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'll meet you there. No, it just seems like you're on a hell of a path. It seems like you're
to where we don't know, but
well, but it's almost it's almost like your writing style, though, right? You don't know where it's going to end up.
Yeah.
You get started with an idea, and you just kind of protect it, and it's like planting a crop almost too,
Yeah.
right? You plant it, you water it, you protect it, you keep the sun off, you shade it, and then it grows up and becomes
something.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people find your book?
Any bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or your local independent bookstore.
And talk about independent bookstores, because I know you say that a lot when you talk about, hey, when you go buy this, try to find an independent
basically
bookstore.
any bookstore that's not a big box.
Yeah.
So here in Dallas, there's in Terabang. I mean, every big city has a little bookshop that's run by a person.
Yeah.
Not a corporation.
Right, not a corporation, and they're fast going extinct.
They too are dreamers.
Yeah.
So
there you go. And if anybody wants to reach out to you on
social media,
how can they do that?
They can find me at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BA Fossey, Fossey. All the same for all 3 of them.
And when we won't hold you to this, but when do you think your next
book is going to be?
Next book might drop. Next year?
Mumble, mumble, mumble.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Well, that was awesome. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Brooke is always a pleasure to talk to. She's very talented. You can find her book on Amazon or any other bookseller, but take her advice and go try to pick the book up at an independent bookstore. The Big Finish, available now everywhere in hardback. You can also reach out to me anytime. I'd love to know what you think. Drop us a note in the comments below. You can always email me if you'd like to work together live at autographconstruction.com or hit me on Instagram at JESS from the Northwest, and we'll see you guys next time.